Well, last week we was at Donington Park where we saw 24 cars hit the track for round one of a night owl. It looked like the M4 was strong with Jordan Daly taking the win in the Pro Class and Roman Frallet taking the win in the Silver Class. It was a pretty good race to watch, but tonight we are here at Kyalami in South Africa. Hello and welcome to Night Owl. My name is Ted Edwards and joining me on the mic and controlling the cameras again is Jesse Lee. How are you doing, Jesse? It's a little bit wet outside today.
It certainly is, Ted. Hello, everybody, and welcome to South Africa. A lovely place to be, a lovely place to visit. A little damp today, as Ted has put it. Some of the drivers have lamented to us in practice that this has been a very tricky racetrack to figure out, while other drivers are taking to it like a duck in water. I wonder how much of that is personal preference and how much of that is just what chassis is underneath of them.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be a daunting one to do. Obviously, we've got the cheetah, crocodiles, and the cheetah to get through with these cars. I have seen some in the practice hit that and go off a little bit, but we just have to wait and see what the race delivers. It's not that much rain coming down on the track. Heard from the drivers that the tyres are actually performing okay. Some drivers are running a dry setup, some drivers are running a wet setup with the wet tyres on. So we just have to see how everyone ends up in the different cars we have here. We've got McLarens, M4s, got Ferraris, and there is Joe Dolber in an Audi. So just have to see where he ends up tonight.
Certainly is. Qualifying underway here. Everybody out there on their sighting lap. The track conditions here in South Africa. It is a light rain, but it has been a consistent rain. In some parts of practice, there was a drier line formed. There is a somewhat of a drier or a not standing water line on some of these corners. A lot of the straights, though, they do have a little bit of a river running through them. Of course, when Kyalami was reinvented, redesigned, and upgraded, they did that with the drainage in mind. Historically, this place would flood quite badly. With the drainage system that they have on the modern circuit, it was meant to keep a lot of that from happening. We've seen from the real world a couple of years ago that it may have not worked as perfectly as they would have liked, but rather besides, it still has kept the track from flooding, and that is the main and most important thing. On board with Mike Redford, the Mike Racing 95. They're going to set our first representative lap time. Jordan Daly's right behind them, or at least was right behind them, but they have invalidated their lap. Harry Conway will be next past the post. But for Mike Redford, as he takes to the line, what is this lap time going to be? And more importantly, what does Conway have to beat? It's a 46.847, and that's immediately beaten by the baddest motors, number 13. It's a 46.3 even.
Yeah, Conway showing his speed as we see some more silvers come across the line a bit further back from Redford. Lavallee goes across the line with a 146.552. Dolber has a 146.465, and Frada goes top in silver at the moment in time with a 46.485. So Frada in the M4 doing pretty well indeed. Just have to see what Daly can do, and let's see what Tim Ireland can do as well, because they're both in the M4 cars. We found out yesterday, me and Daly, even Christoph Visreppen, the M4 was a little bit difficult around Hungaroring. It was controllable, but it just didn't feel like it had the pace, it didn't feel like it had the grip. So just have to see what it can do here, especially in the wet. That makes it a little bit more slippy.
Certainly does. And again, we talked to the drivers about exactly this. Some drivers felt like they may have been on a skating ring, and Callum Kerrigan has found that out the hard way. They've exited the S's section of the racetrack, and they've exited to stage right, and now they have exited back to the pit lane. They were 3+10s up on their lap time and invalidated their lap time by smacking into the wall. A bunch of cars still trying to set a decent enough lap time. There's about 4 cars that have yet to run a valid lap thus far. Harry Conway was up on his time. He's about even right now. It's going to look a lot like the same lap as that has got a provisional pole, and in fact it was. It was a 3 dead for pole. It was a 382, but Jordan Daly, talking about one of the drivers that hadn't set a valid lap time, Daly has done for Triple R in the 197 BMW, and it's good enough for provisional pole of 45.825.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to go back to the pit lane, probably get some fresh, wet tyres, and probably a little bit less fuel. But what a superb time by him, and I think Conway can get up there with him as well, because Conway was going pretty quickly in the practice session 15 minutes ago or so. So just have to wait and see. Dolbert did improve on his time. He is now a 1:46.332. He improved by, I believe, 3 tenths. So I think he's still got more time. I think he lost a bit around the crocodiles and the cheetah. Obviously, you want to be very careful. I've seen, I think it was Lopez in the practice session, whack cheetah pretty hard and just sent the car off straight into the gravel. So it's one of them. If you risk it, like in qualifying, it's not so bad if you have a decent time already. But pushing the car in the race is something you want to be very wary about. You know, it's where the curves are going to be where even if you get past cheetah with a really good entry, it's the exit. If you go too much on that curb and the wheels spin up, you can be backwards, and that's not a great thing to happen, especially if it's lap 1.
Certainly not. Mo Plate goes from about 13th place all the way up to 6th place in the AF Corsa liveried Ferrari. Good for them. Several cars tracking well above what they had previously done. Harry Conway all the way down in 3rd now. Raphael Huell put him there, and they're going to swap positions. No rival for Daly, but Huell gets bumped back to 3rd. Conway up to 2nd with a 45.980, our second 45 of the qualifying session. Still got about half the time left here. I wonder if maybe, as you can actually clearly see on that image there, you could clearly see one of the rivers going across the racetrack I mentioned. You thought I was kidding, but there are actually, and you can see one right there in the foreground of the shot. But that kind of shows you there is still standing water on the circuit like there used to be years ago, but it's not nearly as bad. The drivers will have to navigate that. There is a sort of more ran-in line. It's not a dry line by any stretch of the imagination. That's why I refuse to call it that. But I wonder if that will continue to improve. It's only light rain. It's 19 cars constantly going around the racetrack. It should improve a little bit as we get to the end. And I just say that because Tyler Jason LaValle has just set the quickest time, a 45.642 for the Canadian driver. And that is good enough for provisional pole. And what do you like for parity in the top 5? A Mercedes, an Audi, a BMW, a Ferrari, and a Porsche. You gotta love it. And also, by the way, a McLaren down there that now has been absolutely ruined by Mo Plate, who has gone 5th place to put 2 Ferraris in the top 5. But besides that, 7 spots, 6 different manufacturers.
Yeah, it's something we do like to see quite a bit is the Ferrari team. We don't, you know, we've seen recently the McLaren being probably some people call the OP car at this moment in time with the bop they've got, but around here in the wet it's not looking like it's the quickest car. Some would like that, some wouldn't like that, but it is nice to see a variety of manufacturers in that top 5. And I think going back on the rain and stuff, there apparently is at the bottom of mineshaft as you turn left. You need to turn left a little bit earlier than you normally would compared to the dry, because apparently there's a puddle down there and you aquaplane a bit to the outside of the track. So that's something that drivers need to just keep in mind every time they go down there, especially if they're in the slipstream in the dirty air. That's going to push them out as it is. And Tim Island finds Cheetah, and that was Roman Frauler who tapped his rear end. Unfortunate there, but Island did the right thing and just keeping the car stopped is the main thing, and not trying to get in anyone's way. And it's just a shame. Frauler was just right behind him, but yeah, look at that. He drifts, he slides straight into it and tries to get his car stopped on the gravel, but just doesn't do it in time, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not, and that leads to contact. Nobody wanted that to happen, but there it was. It did indeed happen. on that occasion. Matthew Malcolm looking for an improvement. Roman Frawler on provisional pole for the silver class. Two classes, of course, a white numbered background for pro, and silver is, well, it's gray or silver if you would prefer. The Mauk Racing Scotland 199 coming to the line. They're up big. How far will they jump? Inside the top 10, P2 in class, and that removes Inigo Lopez from P2 in that classification. Frawler has a little bit of extra competition now. A 4.85 for Frawler. It was a 5.57 for Malcolm, and it was a 5.72 for Inigo Lopez the last time through. Everybody improving. Well, that's a complete lie. I say everybody improving. A lot of cars improving here late. Is that just them hitting their line? Is that the track improving? What's your take on that, Ted?
I think it's a bit of both. You know, getting used to where the puddles are, where you need to be turning in, how the car reacts when you try and throw it in, like Phil there, just getting a little bit on the edge there. I think that's still valid. Just have to wait to see if it crosses the line, because he's down on his time as it is. But yeah, it's also puddles and stuff. It's very difficult to sometimes remember. I think it's going to be even harder in the race when you're trying to not, you know, go into the back of someone or trying to not get hit by someone else. You know, you've got to have that level of trust with other drivers. So you just got to try and multitask as much as you can, and that's one thing with being a driver, is remembering all these different things that's going on around you, and you know, with your car on the track.
Certainly is. Vex Moondog looking to improve, in fact does. Moves up a couple of spots. The Bullshark E-Racing car, a 47.082. That jumps them a couple of spots, and further creates a situation where a lot of those silver cars are somewhat close together. We'll need a 46.8 in fact to improve from there. Mike Redford fourth place in that category with 46.847. No movement up top. Tyler Jason LaValle, and we have heard some rumors that that name might be Lavallee or something like that, harking to the Canadian or the French side of Canada. I don't know that. Tyler Jason LaValle or Lavallee has not ever complained. So I'm going to call him LaValle until I'm told otherwise. Either way, the Canadian on provisional pole has been up on their time a couple of times, has not been able to improve upon that lap. A 45.642 is the mark to beat. Dauber is P2 for the time being. A 45.725 for the yellow snow car. You're going to find any yellow snow, but out there on the racetrack tonight here in South Africa, but don't lick any yellow puddles either while we're at it. Jordan Daly up to P3. Harry Conway in fourth place. Immo Plate, your top five. No movement out of those cars right now, and just as I say that, Immo is up on their lap time. LaValle into the pit lane with a minute and a half. That must mean that they're going to bring it in and keep it in the garage. And was that an invalidation for Joe Dauber? It was darn close. If it wasn't, it certainly wasn't conducive to a good lap time, but he's not backed off of it. Why? Because he's going to try and get back around and run another lap. He might just get there in time.
Yeah, he might just have to wait and see, but I do see the deltas of some cars going quicker, and then they start losing. I think they're just pushing a bit too hard. You see Ferrari in the background going pretty wide, and does invalidate. You can see the blue dot behind the red one. That is, blue is invalidation and needs to do another lap to get back onto a valid lap. Grey is valid, and the red dot is the one we are watching. So have to wait and see. Tyler is in the pit lane, number 35. Provisional pole at the minute. Can Huell improve? Huell is second place at this moment in time. 100. What's that? 100s quicker than Dolber. With a 1:45.705. Yeah, 7:05. So just have to see if Dolber can improve. Just have to see if Daly can improve. Maybe Conway, as I did see him being the quickest earlier on, but obviously not many people like to show their true pace. Can Pim not get another lap in? He can. He will be the last car to come across the line if he keeps it valid. The 740's just gone across the line as well. Makatisho Kenko doesn't improve on their lap time, unfortunately. as we see Lee Kettle coming across the line now. He does improve with a 147.900. So a nice time by him, especially in these conditions.
Matthew Malcolm in chat saying that he had an additional 2/10 in the bank, but just couldn't get the lap down. That is the tricky part of racing, knowing how quick you can be, but just getting that lap in is as difficult as you might expect. Rafael Kuhl is going to end their lap. It's invalid. It's not going to count anyway. The same thing for Joe Dauber on an invalid lap trying to improve. He will do no further. Harry Conway is up on his lap time by 2/10. This could be troubling for those drivers in front, and it was very troubling indeed. Harry Conway goes to the front row of the grid, but just opposite pole, a 45.657. Just about everybody else invalidating their lap or not up on their time. Callum Kerrigan flirting with an improvement as several other cars are coming to the line. Jordan Daly is 4 to 3/10 off of their ultimate pace. They will not improve from 5th. I don't know if any of these cars are going to threaten pole. They might threaten the silver pole position, but we'll see. Kerrigan comes through the last car and will do a 47.242, their best lap, and that will conclude qualifying.
See there, Jordan Daly a little bit upset that he didn't get the fastest time, but he did get the fastest first sector, yeah. It's Mercedes for the last, Ferrari for the second, and M4 for the first sectors in the pro field at least. So yeah, it's nice to see each one getting a different sector there. But we got Lavallee, Conway, and Huell first, second, and third. Merc, Ferrari, and a Porsche. That's very nice to see. Followed by Audi, M4, and a Ferrari. That is Dolber, Daly, and Play, followed by Roberts for top 7 in pro. And then we've got first, second, and third is Frallen, Malcolm, and Lopez in silver. That is a M4, McLaren, and Ferrari. So that is a different type of field there as well. So
less than a 10th between them too, the top 3 and silver.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, and obviously you can't forget Conway with his close time, followed by I didn't even see that Huell and Dolber very close as well, and Daly's just it's just 10th off Dolber. So it's going to be nice to see if their race pace is this close, because it's going to be an hour of non-stop fighting.
Certainly could be an hour of non-stop fighting, and we hope that it is a good fight after all. Ted, it's been an interesting start to the championship, and, well, let's show them how we've gotten here today.
Yeah, sure thing. As we got in the pro category, Jordan Daly did take the pole position, the win, and the fastest lap for the first round. So he has 72 points in the 197 M4, followed by Dolber and Conway with 58 and 53. 4th, 5th, and 6th is Huell, Lavallee, and Lilith, who's not here tonight, unfortunately. 48, 44, and 40. Then we got the next 4, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, which is Phil Roberts, Timothy Flamgett, Emo Play, and George Barr with 37, 34, 31, and 28. And that is your top 10 in the pro field. As we go on to the next couple of drivers, next 4 drivers is Oliver Curtin, Makatishu Keno, Neil Pumlot, and Marvin Steer. 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th with 25, 23, 0. And Marvin Steer did sign out of the championship, unfortunately. And then we got the silver standings with Roman Frala taking the first win in silver at Donington Park with 68 points, followed by Patino and Lopez with 62 and 53. Then we got Callum Kerrigan, Tim Ireland, and Sahel Mustak with 4th, 5th, and 6th. And that is 48, 44, and 40 points for them. Next 4 is Vex Moondog, Kevin Boss, Samuel Jordan, and Ashley Bibby. They have 37, 34, and 31 and 28 points for themselves. Ash Bibby doing very well in his first race here at RCI, and probably his first race in a big championship. And then the next 3 drivers don't have any points. That's Matthew, Malcolm, Lee Kettle, and Mike Redford. And Jasper Sparks has signed out of the championship.
Certainly has been an interesting start to this championship, and I'm quite curious how this is going to go down for the foreseeable future. Well, we've got 19 cars on the grid today, and they've lined up, and who would have called it? Tyler Jason LaValle on pole position today, Ted. What are your thoughts about that Mercedes on pole?
It's nice to see the Mercedes is strong in the qualifying. Hopefully, it's strong in the race, but you don't really see many people take the Mercedes anymore. I remember going to Silver Line and always taking it in the red Mercedes he used to take, and used to win quite a few races. He's won 3 Night Owls championships, so it's a shame we don't see him here. But now we've got a new person on the top spot. Hopefully, they can take home the win today. It'll be nice to see. But we've got Coleman Hill very close behind with Dolber as well, so it's going to be a big fight for for that Mercedes to stay in front. But just have to wait and see. But just looking at Joe Dolber, and I got a little stats here. He did win Night Owls USA Mini Series back last year when the USA tracks did come out, so he could be a contender. Today, and Mr. Conway as well. He's got 3 Night Owl championships under his belt with 2 mini series to go with that as well. But just have to wait and see. And obviously, don't forget about Daly. He wants to get that second championship all for himself.
Certainly does. Looking for a second championship. Of course, Harry Conway looking for a 4th seasonal championship. Conway, of course, has won 3 Night Owl championships. That ties Juna Savalainen's 3 Night Owl championships that they've won. The difference is that Harry Conway, who will start in second place tonight, Conway has won a couple of the off-season or the mini championships that we call it. So, in my opinion, if I had to pick between Savo and Conway, and I have to pick Conway, he's just won a little bit more. That doesn't make him a 4-time champion or a 5-time champion because they were all-season titles. But that does mean he has won more series than Savo did in the day. So if there's one man on this grid that knows how to get it done, it's Harry Conway. Can he continue to do that? He's had a fantastic start. Can he keep that up? We'll see. Talk about Jordan Daly in the field as well. Wasn't quite as confident, didn't seem to have the ultimate pace, but said that, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fight for every point. I'm going to try and win this championship. Knows he can't do that today, but a good finish inside the top 5 will position him quite well here today. Has to be aware of that. We also talked to Phil Roberts. Phil Roberts was not terribly confident about the weather, the conditions, the car themselves, but even saying that, they're inside the top 10. They're 7th place. And if there's one thing I know about Phil Roberts, they can pick their way through traffic.
He sure can. But just hopefully he can keep a cool head tonight with this rain. He's not a fan of the rain. He does like to have a dry track, which I think a lot of the drivers do as well. But yeah, like you say, you just have to see how he gets along. Matthew Malcolm is another person, as you see here, in the Scotland car. He is showing himself to be quite quick, as same with Roman Fowler. He's jumped up in the silver spot as well, and Mike Redford, he's won a Night Owl.
In my opinion.
Yes, he is, and he's won a Night Owl in the silver championship as well last season, I believe that was. So it's a bit far back for what I would expect, but we just have to wait and see how the race pace goes. Obviously, we've seen, qualifying's pretty easy. You get your own space on track and you just go for it. On the race, you're following someone and you just got to keep hang of the car and stay out of trouble. And you should be able to climb the leaderboard pretty easily. But just have to wait and see. Only 19 cars, pretty split between pro and silver, so shouldn't be too bad. But there is a lot of points up for grabs.
Yep, a lot of points that can be decided here. You can't win the championship today, but I guarantee you there will be at least one driver that loses it today. Talk about cars out of position. Neil Pimlott and Masatoshi Kaneko absolutely out of position. Pro cars in the middle of the silver field. It was not a very Neil Pimlott style qualifying. It wasn't a very Kaneko style qualifying either, a little bit further down than they would have probably liked to. Probably can give a call to Frawler, Malcolm, and Lopez, who put in really good laps in silver. Mike Redford, a little bit out of touch with the podium in silver. Incredibly uncommon and not something that we're used to seeing in the slightest. So we'll keep you aware of all of that. Sale Mustang, by the way, was the last car to set a lap in qualifying, a valid lap in qualifying, and obviously ran the slowest lap in qualifying. Keep an eye on Mustang because they have a propensity to start in the back but not necessarily finish there as well. Ted, you've been in situations like this. You've raced here a lot. How much does the weather factor in to your mental game for a race like this? Is it something in the forefront of your mind? Is it on the back burner? What's it like?
Well, if it's raining for myself, I don't mind the different conditions. I don't mind if it changes from dry to wet, wet to dry, whatever. It does go on your mind quite a bit of how the car will handle, but what we can see at the minute, in 30 minutes time, it's going to stay this rain consistency. So it wouldn't be in my mind as much. Obviously, you've got your setup, you've got your tires. It shouldn't be too much of a worry as of yet. It's just towards the end of the race when the tires sort of want to die off more, and you just have to see if the dry line forms, how bad the dry line is. From what I've heard in the practice session, it wasn't too bad, so it shouldn't really be on your mind too much. I think you just need to focus more on the driving, but it can stick there and it can put you off.
Excellently said. Well, hello to everyone at home. Thank you for spending a little bit of your Saturday evening with us here on RCI TV. We greatly appreciate that, of course. And while you're here, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We got GT Racing running most days coming up, and we're averaging 3 streams a week this time of year, maybe more in the near future. We got some exciting things, exciting series we want to talk to you about in the future, but for right now, thank you for being here, and we hope that you enjoy today's race. Hope you're well and enjoying your Saturday evening. Here we go, about ready to start. They're 2x2, just about 10 rows deep. Ted, they're about to drop the green. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, sure, can LaValle keep hold of it? Can Conway get a good start? The Ferrari's not very good on the start with that turbo spool, but we just have to wait and see as they come up to the green flag now. Flag does drop. I forgot the line isn't there. It's way further backwards, but oh, LaValle gets a good start. Conway drops back a little bit, as you can see. Dolber in the Audi just get a slip. They're going almost 3 wide. Daly going on the outside. Hill doesn't really get past because Conway cut him off, as we see in the back.
Oh,
Phil
LaValle
almost loses it a little bit. LaValle goes wide, loses the spot. Conway goes in first, followed by Dolber. Daly wants to get by, gets boxed in. Can Hill get send into the next corner? No, he can't. Maybe he can. LaValle going wide again. Hasn't got the tires up to temperature, I don't think. Daly trying to make it go wide. Daly flashing the lights. He really wants to get pie. This is something you don't want to do, Daly. Careful of that Porsche. Oh, it's not too bad right now. Everyone through the first, second and third corner. Can they keep hold of it? Just have to wait and see. The Ferrari and the Audi have gone away from the Mercedes there. Phil Roberts keeping hold of that McLaren there. Almost loses it, but well held by him. Looks like Frawler, Lopez and Malcolm are still in the same positions. Redford moves up in front of the 212 bar, so he has moved up in the overall position. Phil looking to make a move, doesn't want to do it just in case, but not too bad so far, Jesse.
Been a pretty good start. I am quite curious what happened to our pole sitter, Tyler Jason LaValle, on the initial start. It didn't come off in the slightest. They ran completely deep into what is technically turn number 2. Turn number 1 is the dog leg on the pit straight, of course. They ran a little bit wide, and by a little bit, they almost ran completely off the racetrack. Harry Conway and Joe Dauber did not waste any time getting by him. Conway got by him cleanly. Dauber had to fight him a little bit, and all that did was slow LaValle down, throw him into the clutches of Raphael Huell and Jordan Daly. Daly might have had a 2-for-1 special on clearance sale had he not been boxed in, like you say. But at the end of lap 1, no major incidents to report. A couple of shakeups in the running order. The biggest one here, Conway leads Dauber. Dauber looked to have a little extra power down the straight in the slipstream. Got as close as you like to Conway, unable to make the move. LaValle hanging on in P3 right now. What must be going through the Canadian driver's mind after dropping 2 spots on the initial couple of corners. It's all leveled out now. Huell falling off the back just a little bit. Daly and Immo Plate fighting each other, or not necessarily fighting each other, but waiting, lying in wait with Phil Roberts, who had a decent start as well. All those cars quite single file, and most of the action in the back of the pack. I told you to pay attention to Sayol Mustak because they probably wouldn't try to stay and hang around in last place for long. They always seem to race better than they qualify, and they're on the back of Tim Ireland.
Yeah, sure is. And in just looking back at last season and what people were in, Joe Dover is in the McLaren, switched to the Audi. Harry Conway went from the Lamborghini to the Ferrari. He only did 1 race and then signed out the last one, so I don't think he felt too good. Probably didn't have much practice. Mike Redford is gone from the Ferrari to the McLaren. I think everyone's switched. That's probably why people are in different places. We've got Neil Pimlott finished 4th in the Pro Series last time round in the M4. I switched to the McLaren as well. So, oh, there goes Redford off a bit, going wide. Probably a track cut for him. Keeps on track and keeps it going, but a few people have switched cars. So, oh, catching the cheetah just a little bit, not too much. It could have been a lot worse than that. We've seen a lot worse, especially in the wet when you just slide on the grass. But a few people switching cars. Some for good, some for the worse, but it's just one of those things where you probably don't like the car from the previous season. You want to switch it up. Jordan Daly going too wide with Huell there does make the move, and that makes Immo Plate go for the move on Huell as well. Huell losing 2 places in 1 corner, so not a great exit from the Porsche there.
Raphael Huell losing a couple of spots. Let's show you exactly how that happened. Just ran a little bit wide there. Jordan Daly pressuring him and allowing Daly to come down the inside. That does become the inside here, and in fact it does. They get as close as you like. A little wide there from Huell. Will feel like he was forced just a little bit, but here comes Immo Plate in the Ferrari to get that position as well. That was a well, we're not playing a sport that really you're supposed to be boxing people out as a common play, but that's exactly what happened there. Daly using the track width, using the knowledge of the upcoming turns to squeeze Raphael Huell in a position where they didn't have a choice. They had to back out there, and they certainly did. Huell down to 6th place, just in front of Phil Roberts. Everybody keeping it going. Sayol Mustak, by the way, has passed Tim Ireland for 18th place while that was going on. Vex Moondog looking to make a maneuver on George Barr. Got in there, thought better of it, backed out, and it's now lost time. Oh, and it's a huge crash.
Ooh.
It's a huge crash in the background. Is that Callum Kerrigan? It is Callum Kerrigan.
Jeez. Oh, and he's going to hit the wall again. What happened here? Was that on the cheetah? We're going through crocodiles now, so it's have to wait and see. He's coming to cheetah just around about now. Big yellow curb. You can't miss it. He does miss it. Oh, he gets on the exit, hits the grass, and still got the turn on. And oh, that could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, there was a massive gap between the cars, but ouch. That is a heavy, heavy impact, especially with that extra touch there. And I think he has retired from today's race. That is very, very unfortunate, especially early on in this race. And obviously, the drivers know what the pit requirements are. Would you like to hear them, Jesse?
Yes, I sure would.
Well, the reason why he has retired is because there's a 30-minute pit window, so he can't complete his mandatory stop, unfortunately, because it will open when it's 45 minutes remain on the race and 15 minutes left of the race. It will close. So that's why he's retired. He got too much damage to carry on, try and get rid of his mandatory later on in the race. It's 1 litre of fuel with that as well. So there's no tyre change. There's no fixed fuel limit time of 25 seconds. So yeah, that's one reason why he is not with us in this race anymore. But that was a really heavy impact.
Yeah, it certainly was. It would have required some very serious pit repairs, and that's how easily it can go from everything's normal, I'm in the fight, to absolute carnage right there, and that's exactly what happened. Roman Frawler leads Inigo Lopez and Matthew Malcolm, as Lopez and Malcolm have swapped spots. Frawler still leads that group by about 0.7 of a second. Next, Moondog was under pressure from Masatoshi Kaneko, but that has fallen away as the power down the straight from the 22 Ferrari, a little bit too much for the Porsche for the time being. A couple of fights that keep going in and out, and what I suspect is happening here is the same thing that happens every time we have a wet weather race, is that one car will have grip off the corner, the other car will make a mistake where they miss where the grippiest part of the racetrack is. You get no traction, no forward drive, because probably the traction control steps in and keeps you from spinning the tires, and you end up in a situation where you have no power and you're just gobbled up, or the other thing that's probably a little bit more likely than that, just outbraking yourself in the rain, missing the corner, and of course trying to drive nose to tail like a lot of these cars are is not necessarily conducive to downforce in the first place.
Yeah, sure is. And just looking at the lap times at the minute, we're only 8.5 minutes in, but just having a look at the early lap times, and Conway is leading Speedy's fastest lap, 1:46.640. Dolber with a 46.8. You got Lavalley with a 46.8. You got Daly with a 46.7. So he's the closest to Conway at the moment, and then Plate with a 46.8 as well. Huell with a 47.1 as their fastest. So the Porsche not as quick, obviously quick around the corners, but not in the straight lines on this track at least. So it's have to see if their tyres can hold on compared to the other cars. Maybe Conway and Daly might wear their tyres out a bit more and get a bit more slippier towards the end. Just have to wait and see.
I'm afraid to ask what a sand duck is, but I'm gonna end with that. But it doesn't sound like an environment a duck would be quite happy to be in. Masatoshi continuing to hound Moondog, caught up to him on that lap, had a look down into one and two, in fact, but was sort of slightly guarded off by Moondog. Moondog didn't heavily defend that, just kind of went in there half-heartedly like, no, you don't, Kaneko. I'm not just going to let you have that. I'm not going to pull over. That was all he needed to know.
Who's that?
Neil Pimlott, I think that was.
That was Malcolm.
That was Matthew Malcolm. They're all in McLarens. You will have to forgive me.
What a save.
And what a save it was. Let's go take a look at that.
He snapped so far left. I thought he was gone, but he kept that on track. I don't even think he touched grass. That was
oh, baby!
Look at that save. Didn't even lose that much time, to be fair. Yeah, what a save that was, and not somewhere I would have thought you would have had a snap. Normally through the S's because of the weight transfer from left to right, but that is a save. Let him through Pimlott. Oh, almost let him through Redfield. Let him through Pimlott probably because he's in a different class. There is no points difference.
Here we go again.
He's hit Cheetah. He's going to lose 2 places to Redford and Barr. Obviously, Barr doesn't count for points. As I was just saying, there is no points difference between Pro and Silver. That's just overall, but there is no overall points. It's just for the class of driver. So he only loses 1 place, but loses 2 overall. And if you want to finish in front of pros, there's a little bit of a bragging right from a Silver driver, especially. But that was he saved it at one point, and yeah, saves it again. Luckily, Geeta is a very, very hard curb to hit. Probably one of the hardest curves we've got in ACC, I think, from my knowledge, and it's definitely one you don't want to hit.
Well, it definitely punishes you because you want to get as close to the sausage as you possibly can without actually hitting it, because you hit it, it acts like a bumper in a pinball machine, and it will ricochet you off into the sand, which does its job. It slows you down, it can spin you out, and it can, in these conditions, certainly cause you to go sideways immediately due to the lack of grip, and that none of those things are what you want to happen. But you got to try and get as close as possible, because you just saw Matthew Malcolm miss it, or excuse me, was it Malcolm or Redford, whomever it was earlier on that missed it entirely. That sent them off into the dirt, so you must get as close as you possibly think you can. And that's the long and the short of it. That's what you have to do. Oh my goodness! There has been just about one of the worst incidents I have seen in the history of my broadcasting career. Masatoshi Kaneko is completely destroyed. Was that George Barr's car?
It was, and I did see Bar on my other screen, yellow flagged. So I think he was stationary, and maybe the car in front moved out the way of Makatisho.
This is a long replay because we're going to try and figure out what happened to George Barr, who was fighting to get back into contention in his own class.
So we're in the S's at the moment, coming up to the top of the mountain, top of mine shaft. Just have to.
This is Leacop.
That's the one. Jesse knows. Oh, he goes a bit wide. He stays out the way of Malcolm by the looks of it.
Oh!
No, he gets tapped by Malcolm. Spins on the grass. Does hold brakes. Oh, he's right.
Oh man!
Oh, that's what happened. Makatisho had nowhere to go coming out of the corner there, and plants him straight in the side.
Oh well, you just feel bad for Masatoshi Kaneko. Just nothing they could really do. They were in their own fight, which is what you do. You settle into a race like this. You're fighting who you're fighting, and you don't expect a car to be stationary there. Absolutely, George Barr didn't do anything necessarily wrong. You're taught in RCI to hold brakes and be very predictable. There's nothing more predictable than not moving. It is unfortunate it was the racing line. It was unfortunate he was in that situation to begin with. But both Kaneko and Barr, understandably, in the pit lane, as this race started out all right for both of those drivers and now has come to an abrupt end. Mentioned earlier, it can come down in an instant, your race, and that is certainly the risk that has been answered here thus far. Both those cars, lengthy repairs, an absolute savage hit.
Yeah, and 30 seconds to go until the pit window opens as well, so they're going to miss out on fixing it in their window time, so they're going to have to do another pit if they carry on with this race. That is so annoying, and it's just one of those things where it's every time I reduce the pit time, someone has a massive incident, and I do feel quite bad. But you know, it is Night Owl, and I do like to change it up a little bit. But it's one of those races, as we have Callum Kerrigan in chat saying, I don't think I've ever finished a race at Kyalami, and yeah, I think a lot of people have that one track where they just can't finish, or they don't finish very well, and they have incidents like that. I know Silverstone for me is definitely, I can drive the track, I know the lines, but I'm just not very good at it, and I make silly little mistakes, especially through like Maggotts and Beckett's, where the weight transfer flicks the car, and I just make a silly mistake and off I go into a wall. So it's I think every driver has a track they don't like and don't get on very well with.
Yeah, and you can love that track too, and it can absolutely hate you. I've had those over the years. There's tracks that I absolutely adore racing at, but just chews you up and spits you out. And it's just the case of racing, and it will happen at certain places. Everybody has kryptonite. That kryptonite just happens to take many different forms. The battle for the lead in silver, well and truly on. Lopez was never too far adrift of Roman Frawler, your pole sitter in the class, as several cars have elected to take this opportunity to come down the pit lane. Jordan Daly down the lane, and so is Mike Redford. Kaneko is in and out of the pit lane, but of course they still have their mandatory stop to do. Masatoshi has repaired that car. They have not retired the 740, and I love that sportsmanship of, just because with an accident, I'm not going to give up, because if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone, and Masatoshi's so correct with that assessment. Matthew Malcolm down the pit lane as well. Looked to be a pretty standard stop for Jordan Daly. Was only on pit lane for 32 seconds. For anyone wondering about Kaniko's penalty, Kaniko's pit stop, it was 1 minute 50. So if Jordan Daly's time is representative, and I do believe it is 32 seconds, I'm willing to believe that that was nearly a minute and a half, 2 minutes worth of damage. No, excuse me, a minute and a half of damage on Kaniko's car that has been repaired. Daly had a really quick time, you know, and no penalties. It was 32. Mike Redford and Matthew Malcolm on and off pit road in 45 and 46 seconds, respectively. Wow, this is an incredible time for Daly.
Yeah, it's that is surprisingly a very quick pit stop. We just have to wait and see what the cars do. And what you're wondering, why did they jump in so early when they've got a half an hour pit window? Well, I think it's to get out of the traffic. They've only need to take 1 litre of fuel. There's no tyre change. So there's no strategy really behind it with, you know, with the fuel or, you know, with the tyres. So I think it's just to get some clean air and see if you can get some faster lap times in, as we don't see any of these drivers coming in this pack of the grid. Phil Roberts is in. I do lie. Phil is just coming to the pit lane, so he's doing similar strategy to Daly. Lavallee is just taking the fastest lap away from Conway with a 146.522. So that Mercedes is catching back up. So you just have to see if how close they can get. Obviously, they didn't have a very good start, but they are trundling on as we see Hill fighting against Plate. Hill lost a few places with Daly, and then this car in front of the 71. So Porsche is still there, still fighting a Ferrari. So you know, that's one thing when you're racing, you always want to be fighting someone because it helps you get quick, you know, keep your pace going. It's when you lose someone and you're on your own, that's when you start to just get too comfortable and too safe, and then that's when either the mistakes start happening, or you know, you just lose your pace and you never get back up again.
Certainly a frustrating situation trying to race somebody like that, but you do miss it whenever you're out in space by yourself. Not only is it boring racing by yourself, you're just hot lapping at that point. I know a lot of people that enjoy hot lapping.
Ooh.
Was that contact between Lopez and Frawler at the top of Leacock? I suspect it might have been. That has brought Neil Pimlott into this fight. Neil Pimlott doesn't have a dog in this fight, except that Neil would very much like to get on with their race. They stand to gain some positions. Pimlott looking down to the inside, doesn't dive into Cheetah there, backs off respectfully, and they all end up as they came. George Barr still sitting in the pit lane. I think this goes beyond repair. Neil Pimlott says, well, if I can't get past you, I'm just going to go ahead and take my pit stop. That's an offensive pit stop for the VR Racing 115, and I think that's the smart thing to do right there as well.
Yeah, getting out of the way of cars that you don't need to fight with. They're not for points, so might as well try and pit and see if you can get into some fresh air like Daly did. Daly still got a 2.2 second, was 2.2 second to Mustang, still is 2 second to Mustang, so still got some clean laps in there, but he is now catching the silver driver. But just want to give a little bit of a shout out to one of our partners. digitalmotorsport.com has all the top brands and is your one-stop shop for everything sim racing. Whether you're in need of a new sim rig or a whole new sim rim or a whole new rig, from beginner to expert, Digital Motorsport has something for everyone. You can visit the link in the description below, and don't forget to try out their sim rig builder, where you can build your own sim rig from the ground up, and you can see what it looks like before you buy it. And that link is in the description below.
Yes, indeed. The race continues. And hey, chat, you know, it's getting to the spooky season of the year, and I know not every place around the world celebrates or enjoys Halloween quite like America does, but I do love the spooky season. Do you want to see the scariest thing on the racetrack right now? Bam! Jump scare! Did I get you? I got you. I know I got you with that. Raphael Huell bringing the scary, bringing the spooky to RCI with that giant face on that car, and now bringing the strategy down to pit lane. The AO Racing 21 to the attention of the team. Again, another offensive undercut style pit stop, and hopefully they're able to pit that car appropriately with those tiny T-Rex arms on that car. George Barr in the pit stall just in front of them, still sitting there in the pit lane. I am quite sure we will not see a return of the George Barr 212 today. Routine stop for Huell there. Nothing strange about that stop at all. It seemed appropriate to me, and it was a 34-second stop, so that makes sense. That is the third quickest stop we've had thus far. Jordan Daly had the quickest stop. It was a 32.132. The second quickest was Phil Roberts, 34.280. Now Raphael Huell slots in with third quickest, the 34.480. So doing bits, we'll have to see if that pays off for Huell a little bit later on. Remember, they were right behind the driver they were trying to overtake at the time.
Talk about the spooky season. I still have my Ginetta livery with the spoopy pigeon. I remember that from last year. I think it was a Monday champ we did, and it was very fun. I ended up drifting that Ginetta quite a bit. It wasn't quick in it, but yeah, I do like what Tim does with the Monday champ, where he switches between a GT series, a GT3 series champ to a Cup series or whatever. So it's pretty fun Monday champ. That is still going on with the Monday Porsche Cup season 4. We're only one round in. The next round is at Monza. We've already had Barcelona, so you can find that on our website, racerci.com, and you might see some other championships that have just well, you'll see one championship that's popped up. I think there might be some more you can see, especially on the Discord. There is a ton of information that was dropped today from our lovely admin Tom Bryan, and it's do you know what it is, Jesse? Do you want to know what it is?
I absolutely do. Let's hear it.
It is a load of iRacing championship. Here's Lee Kettle going slowly into the pit lane. It is a load of iRacing championships and some one-offs that you can find all the information for on our Discord. It goes and on our website, racerci.com, and we've got iRacing Road Season 2. We did Season 1 early this year. We've had a massive break, unfortunately. Oh, he was just going slow.
Yeah, you were absolutely right about that. I thought that looked slow, but I wasn't going to say anything. But yeah. Since you mentioned it, I was like, okay, well, Ted's seen it as well. Let's see what happened. But I think maybe he just took that corner a little too acutely. But anyway, iRacing back on RCI?
Yeah. We've got a 4th round of Season 2 road. We've got some Legends Cup. We've got MX-5s at Daytona. And we've got Charlotte 150 as a 100, and I think there's 150 laps at Charlotte in the street stocks. So we've got a load of racing coming on. We've also got one that has just opened, Formula 1 1600 at Virginia, one-off race in those new little cars that we've got out. I've signed up for the race. I think you guys should sign up as well. It's a load of all you need is a subscription to iRacing. The tracks and the cars are free for most of them. The road season, I think, is MX-5s and GT4, so if you have the MX-5, which you will, you can come and jump on. If you've got GT4, then even better. But we'd like to try and include everyone in these championships on iRacing. We know it can get quite expensive, so we try and do a bit for everyone. But it's we're trying to get you back into the iRacing scene. We tried it early this year. We had a few life things happening, so we had to put it on the back burner, but it is back and we are going to continue do it. We've got races on the Thursday. The Thursday champ is now iRacing. Used to be GT4 back in the day, but that has changed, and the one-offs will be on a Saturday, I do believe so. Have a look at our Discord, have a look on the website, and sign up for what you like.
Folks, I'm just going to tell you, nothing excites me quite like going back to iRacing. It's, in a weird way for me, like going to see an old friend you hadn't seen in quite a long time. iRacing's where I've probably spent the bulk of my sim racing time. Actually, I tell a lie, that's probably not true, but it's where a lot of my more memorable and some of my favorite races have happened. And also, we are going to, here on the broadcast department of RCI, we're going to try and cover as many and as much of those races live, just like we do ACC. I've already began devising a plan for a lot of those races, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Whether you're driving, watching, we just want you to be here with us. It's part of our diversification progress here at RCI to get out there, get more sims. And I can't say anything because certain people would kill me, as Indigo Lopez has had enough, and they're going to bring the Bull Shark e-racing car down pit lane. They were on the back of Roman Frawley, the leader in silver, and we'll see how that works out. But I can't say too much. This isn't the only new sim that we will be expanding into. I just can't say anything else. So save me from myself. Back to you, Ted Edwards.
And I'll save you from this. Is Mike Redford is fighting with that's Tim Ireland, who still hasn't done the pit stop. So not really fighting, but sort of is fighting. But I think Tim let him through since he's still got his pit stop to do. Tim taking the curve, all wrong there, bless him. But that's how Redford gets past, coming down towards the mine shaft. Tim stays to the right and I think just lets Redford through, which is very sensible from Tim there. You know, you're not a lap car. There is still a fight going on, but you still got a pit stop to do, whereas the other car doesn't. So it's one of those things. But top 6 is still not pitted. Top 4 in pro, top 2 in silver. Tim Ireland and Kenko haven't pitted. Remember, 740 was in that massive crash, as we only have 16 cars left. We did have 19. 3 have disappeared. I think two of them had big crashes. One right at the start of the race as well. So that's unfortunate. But there's still a race on the go. As I think Huell had a good pit stop as well. What did Huell do? 34.406. So that's the second fastest, third fastest, because Lee Kettle got the second fastest time at 36.404. So silver car doing mother. I thought Lee was going slow into the pit lane. Apparently he wasn't, Jesse. That was just my eye.
No, he definitely, maybe because most drivers, they go wide in that turn because I guess they're afraid of that very sharp, acute sort of pit wall. It's a gigantic wall and you don't want to damage the car. I guess most drivers are afraid of that and they go wide, but they are able to carry speed. I think maybe what he did was he did the opposite of that, realized that his pit stall was quite early and tried to cut that corner a little bit, which caused him to slow down, but in the end wasn't actually slow in the slightest. Vex Moondog into the pit lane, Masatoshi into the pit lane for the second time today, this time to the attention of the team, not for damage, but for their mandatory stop. Vex pits out of P2, at least they were at the time, and they will get back out there. That leaves Roman Frawler out there all by themselves. Top 5 still yet to complete their stop. Tim Ireland, the lone car outside of the top 5 that has yet to complete their stop. I would expect Tim Ireland in the 141 to come in as late as humanly possible. That seems to be his MO most of the time.
If you see those big red blocks next to Moondog and Genko, both got to stop and go 30. That's excessive speeding in the pit lane as they came into it, which is very, very unfortunate. So now they need to go back into the pit lane within 3 laps and sit in the box for 30 seconds, and then they can go out again. So their races are practically sort of finished, if you like. They probably won't gain on anyone else with 30 minutes of the race to go, halfway through already. So that's very unfortunate, but that's the thing you got to be careful of, especially in the wet. Your braking distance is just that tad bit longer when you're coming into the pit lane, and it's a pretty tough one, Kyalami. You know, you got that sharp left, as Kettle showed us how to do it properly, and it's just slowing down quickly and efficiently is, I think, one that drivers just forget about. They get into the flow of doing corners, the laps, the lap times, the pace, and then when it comes to the pit stop, they sort of probably forget where the boards are, and they're pretty close, as we see Pimlock going for a move on Kettle. Kettle moves out the way, lets the pro driver through. Very sensible from that guy indeed, and he'll get the slipstream on the main straight if he stays within a second.
Neil Pimlock with a super slow stop, telling me that they took tires on the VR Racing 115. They ran their pit stop. They pitted on lap 10. It was a 1 minute 2 second pit stop. That is certainly in the vicinity of a car that took tires here.
Yeah, sure it is, and it's surprising how they're the only driver that's taken tires. So I'm guessing they're not feeling comfortable on the set they had. I haven't seen them have really any mistakes. Um, it was sliding the tires, getting them too hot, and getting the grain in them. So it's very surprising indeed. But just have to see how they get along with these set of tires.
We'll have to see how far they are able to continue to gain spots. That Sale Mustang directly in front of them. Keep in mind, Sale started dead last today, and as I mentioned earlier, they tend to not run in the back. They just tend to start there sometimes, and they're up into 12th right now, but that is Neil Pimlott directly behind them. That will not technically, while that will drop them overall position, this does not matter to Sale in his championship points because, again, Neil Pimlott in a different class. We're about to learn, like you say, how much those tires are worth. I would not have probably changed tires personally. I would not have had the stones to do that. Neil Pimlott obviously made a sterner stuff because he has done that and is making it work. And even though we're at the back third of the grid, it's still, you got to make these passes. He's doing it quite convincingly, so at least he did there on Kettle and Mustang the last couple of times through. Tim Ireland has not waited for the last possible moment to pit. In fact, the BMW Team Schnitzer liveried car into the pit lane this time, and they will do their service in that lovely Super Touring car livery. You have to love that. That is a piece of absolute history out there.
Looking at the top 3 lap times, Joe Dolber just got done his fastest with 146.515. Lavalley's done a 47.2. Conway's done a 46.7 is their last lap time. So Dolber's got the speed in him. Conway's just done a 46.8. Dolber 46.9, and then Lavalley a 47.7. So I wonder if these guys might take tires. Look like the pace is dropping off. Dolber though, not in that Audi, still on the back end of Conway. So that could be down to setup. Who knows? And about setups, Jesse. You know where we can get some nice setups.
Certainly do. Of course, if you're looking for setups for the esports pros or safer alternatives that anyone can drive, you can go to Go Setups and check out their library of 1.9 setups, and they have a setup for almost literally every car, including the Jaguar. Go Setups is a fantastic place to get started and to level up your game. A lot of our drivers in today's race, and many races rather besides, use Go Setups and win on them. Jordan Daly, quite famously, him and Christoph Verstappen in recent weeks have used Go Setups to power their wins in RCI competition. You can too. Go to Go Setups, check out their plans that they have, and get on track, see the performance difference.
Yeah, and I've noticed the performance difference when I've been using them, and I've just switched to a Placey Challenge cockpit that you can find on Digital Motorsport as well.
Oh, you're so good.
Yeah, well, I've already called them out already, but I've been using CSL Elite's Fanatec's pedals with a load cell kit, so I got to shout them out. It feels really nice. First time in a while that I've not used. Let's see, Dolber Quinn's in the pit lane for his pit stop. The first time in forever that I haven't used shoes. I'm gone just with my socks on because they are so comfy. So, Fanatec is the global leader in high-end sim racing hardware, from load cell pedals to direct drive base. Fanatec strives for quality in every piece of hardware they design. You can help RCI by using the affiliate link when making purchases from Fanatec, and if you do so, then we thank you very much. But they are built very, very well, and I have not had a problem with them. The load cell feels really nice on the foot. Very different from going from a Logitech set of pedals to the Fanatec ones, but I actually recommend them highly. I feel like I've got more control in the throttle response and the braking response with the cars now, and even Daly turned around to me after watching me for a bit of practice yesterday that he noticed that my brake trace was a lot better, and it looked like I had more control over the car. So, you know, upgrading your hardware does work.
Great thing about those Fanatec pedals and any set of Fanatec pedals that they currently offer that I'm aware of, you don't have to plug them into the base. You can plug them directly into your PC via USB, and no matter what ecosystem you think you're bought into, Fanatec's able to bail you out because you don't have to plug it into your base.
Yeah.
It's not a proprietary plug-in. It goes right into your PC and works that way. Fantastic stuff indeed. Joe Dauber just had the quickest pit stop of the day. A 31.9 is by far the quickest stop. It was 0.2 quicker than Jordan Daly's stop, which is just about the quickest we've seen. It is do or die time for the Baddest Motors number 13 with Brevin Kim on the side of that Ferrari, and they're going to need a quick stop here. They're going to have to be about a 32 flat to keep the lead. There was only about a second in it between him and Joe Dauber. Will he be able to keep it? It looked like a quick stop. How quick was it? It was a 31.5. The call answered by the Baddest Motors driver in the Ferrari, setting the quickest time on and off a pit lane. No penalties. It was as perfect as it ever could have been. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. That's what I think of when I think of Harry Conway.
Yeah, amazing pit stop. Already Roman Fraliger, we'll see in just a second. He got a 34.4. No, he didn't. He got a 31.441.
Oh my goodness!
So he's just gone faster than Harry Conway. What an amazing stop by the silver driver there, who is in first place by quite a way actually over Lopez and Redford. So he just needs to take this car to the end with 21 minutes and 25 seconds left. Only 2 drivers left to do the pit stops. Valley and Plate in the pro class first and second at the moment in time. Valley coming down mine shaft now, and Plate just exiting the top of the mountain. So it's not that close at the minute. Dolber's probably the closest for a fight, and that is with Conway. So you have to keep an eye on them and see how their lap times go. But no one has taken tyres. The only person did was Neil Pimlott, who's down in 11th and is at 8th place overall. So here comes Tyler Jason LaValle in the 35. I wonder if Plate will follow him in, and he doesn't. He carries on for another lap, so he can do another, I think, 2 laps. Then he needs to do a pit stop. But I wonder why they run so long, Jesse.
They're just trying the overcut. It's all they got. They feel like they're in space. They can make some lap time and also better assess the situation if they stay out a little bit longer. Does that work? You know, it goes down to the driver. Some will say it does work. Some will say, no, I'd rather err on the side of caution and come in early. I think if you're MO Plate, you don't lose anything by doing this. It was a decent stop by Tyler Jason LaValle, your pole sitter. It was a 31.770, so they didn't gain or lose anything that time on pit road. Just to update you, between Conway and Dauber, it was about a second and a half the gap prior to the stop. That 31.9 on pit lane for Dauber was beaten by Harry Conway for 31.5, so about half a second difference. They came out, it was a 1.8, 1.9 second lead, and you can see the difference. Conway able to leg him out, though I will say on some of these corners, Dauber is making up a little more time than they were prior to the stop. No tires taken on any of these top cars. The biggest thing on pit road that happened was this driver, Roman Frawler for EMR. What they did was nothing short of amazing. Inigo Lopez, the driver who was right up the back of them prior to the stop, Lopez, they had a 41-second stop. Frawler had a 31-second stop. Frawler, just by having a good stop, took an absolute nothing burger of a delta and turned it into 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, if Lopez got a 31 or 32 second stop, even I think a 34, they would have been in first by now. But because of that stop, they are behind by quite a bit. So what's that? 7-second gap to those 2 drivers. Conway and Dauber are fighting. We've got LaValle and Daly fighting. So, you know, we've got some fights going on. Plate is now in the pit lane. Didn't go for the extra one. I thought they might have, but have now completed their pit stops. Everyone has finished. Pit window doesn't need to be looked at anymore. You can concentrate on fights at hand.
Emo plate coming out of the pit lane. Here comes Raphael Huel. They'll make the pass for a top position. Will they get in between them and Frawler? They will. Frawler not necessarily. Actually, that's not Roman Frawler. That is a very much a Ferrari there. But they would have not been too concerned about that either way, even if it was. Emo plate in and out of the pit lane. No issues there. And speaking of issues on pit lane, credit to Moondog and Kaneko. Both those cars stop and go 30s for pit lane speeding infringements. Of course, no live stewarding here on Night Owl this season, but they kept going. 16 cars left in the race. We started with 19 or so, and a couple of drivers not giving up that easily, certainly not in their case. Credit to them there. Jordan Daly for Triple R, chasing down Tyler Jason LaValle. Had a decent enough stop, but has not been able to pick back up the pace. The last lap through, it was a horrendous lap, a 51.9. Might as well call it a 52 second lap. The leaders are all running mid to high 46s to low 47s. That includes Jordan Daly, ran a 47.4 the last time through and is all but caught up to the back of LaValle for a podium.
Yeah, well, you say he's close to him, I say he's almost in his boot there, Jesse. Daly's driving is superb, and you know, trying to not hit him in the rear end is a difficult thing because you really want to get past. But his racecraft is amazing. You know, Daly's been driving for a long time now. He knows what he can and can't do with any car that he drives, and he's just waiting to see if LaValle makes a mistake. He knows from the start of the race that he does go wide, you know, turn 1, turn 2, and definitely turn 3 we saw him go quite wide and lose a few positions. So just have to keep an eye on them. And I think in front is Tim Ireland, the 141. He will be a back marker. Will be getting that by these two drivers in a second. Should move out the way when they get close enough. And Daly trying to go around the outside, trying to do the cutback. They both get a slide on. Daly just gets a better exit.
Daly's going to try
in it.
Go around the outside. Will they be steady enough in this weather? Yes, they will. It's a drag race and a dead heat down to the S's. Normally, you want to be single file through here. Otherwise, it usually ends in tears. But it hasn't on this occasion. Jordan Daly for Triple R has just taken Tyler Jason LaValle, and all credit to the both of them. They stuck it out. They did it cleanly, and they've just about got it done.
LaValle was all over the shop going through the first and the second S. You just sliding, going straight towards the curb, and that's one thing you don't want to do when you're sliding, because it will make you spin round. That was one fight. If you watch the Mercedes here, going through here, almost snapped there, and again, look, they're sliding, and it's, I just saved it, and again, just saved it again. 3 saves. That could have gone really badly, but still kept in the slipstream of Daly. So when they come to the start, finish straight, might still have the slipstream to stay with Daly there. But God, that Merc looks very unstable at this time in the race. Wonder if the tyres are just dropping off that a little bit, but let's have to wait and see. 6 tenths, almost 7 tenths now to Daly. So looks like that M4 has some grip. Hopefully commentator's curse does not kick in. Tim Ireland stays way out of the way.
He's got damage.
Yeah.
141. We saw him on the pit stop. The car was clean. That happened post pit stop for Tim Ireland.
It either happened or, you know, ACC likes to be ACC sometimes with us, but it is on my side as well. It is damaged, so it could actually be damaged. So that is unfortunate. But he's not last in silver, so you know he's still got that going. He's only got 14 minutes left of the race. He's got 6.3 second gap to Moondog. So let's see if he can hold that car going. It's let's see how unstable it is. It will be more understeer than oversteer, but the understeer can kick the car at the rear end out if he tries too hard to steer. But it looks like he's doing okay. So I'll have to find out and let you guys know in round 3 what happened. But looks to be all okay, Jesse.
Yeah, it's definitely slow, but that's probably just him babying the car a little bit in its state that it's in. But he doesn't seem that the steering straight, which is what the in-car cam told you, and you could also see how hard it is to handle by how much steering input how much ratio he's using. It looks pretty normal. That was a little bit sketchy, but that could have been done in any car as Huell's trying to make their way through here in P5. Meanwhile, just in front of them, Tyler Jason LaValle has not given up the pursuit of Jordan Daly. Daly was able to make that pass and get the job done a couple of laps ago, but that has not meant the Canadian has dropped off the back of the British driver, and a little bit of a look there. Got better braking into the corner, did LaValle. Thought about it going down to the inside of turn number 2. Eventually thought better of it and just fell back in line to have the better line. Since the drop of the green flag, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Driving off of the racetrack. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Since the drop of the green flag, this Mercedes has been doing exactly this, just veering off wide on many of the corners of the racetrack. This another instance. We've seen cars go off today because of that, but that is another impressive save. And I know for those of you at home, that may have not looked like much, but that was a big save.
Yeah, I think as well he carried too much speed through the corner. That's why he went wide, and you don't want to touch the brake through a corner, especially in the wet, because it can spin your car around if your front's grabbed too much. As we see Redford and this Lopez fighting for second place. We do have a fight in silver for a podium position here, as I think Redford takes over. As we see, yeah, Redford gets the inside line through. I think that's turn 3 or 4. That's turn 4 to 5, yeah. So through turn 6 of Sunset, Redford stays on the outside line.
On the outside.
And look at that, the McLaren just holds it. That is one stable car.
There are cars, folks, we promise you, that you probably wouldn't want to try that maneuver. The McLaren, though, probably one of the better ones to try that maneuver. Redford makes it look easy indeed. You know, for a car that started near the back of this race, Mike Redford, that is, in the 95, they've certainly made the best out of this. They now are in second place in their class. Of course, the slow stop for Lopez didn't help them, but Mike Redford had an even slower stop. They ran a 45.3 on pit lane, and I don't think that's slow enough to take tires either. It just looks like Redford's car, they had to pick their way through traffic, and they've now found themselves in a position that we're more familiar with Redford being in. A top 3 certainly, and in second place. I fear, though, that a fight for the lead might not be on the cards. They are 8 to 9 seconds behind Roman Frawler right now, but I've seen stranger things happen. Yeah,
you never know. Frawler could make a simple mistake like LaValle's been doing all race, and look at that 1.3 to Daly is just lost the slipstream, and hopefully just not lost his mental state of, you know, you've got 10 minutes left, he can still get third place off of Daly here. David Dolber trying to chase down Conway 1.2. Looking at last laps, got Conway with 146.7, Dolber with 146.6, Daly with 146.9, and obviously LaValle with 47.7. So Daly's a little bit off pace compared to the leaders, but LaValle's just struggling with that Mercedes.
Certainly looks like that is what's going on with LaValle, and you wonder just how quick that car was in qualifying. Why isn't it able to do that in the race? Do you have any idea why that might be such a big discrepancy?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know when I was driving the Porsche, it likes to chew at its rear tires a bit. I did around Donington, so maybe the Mercedes, the setup that he's got, is just chewing it looks like the rear tires are sliding. So maybe it's just, or it could just be the less fuel he's got for his either wet setup or whatever he's running. As we see Tim Island go a bit deep. Same with Lopez. No, was that was Moondog? Sorry, Moondog going deep as well. As we see the 740 there, mingling in with them. Still, I think a lap down. Yeah, a lap down from the 2 drivers there. So, but I think it could be fuel as well. Like I know in the Porsche, less fuel, you get a bit more understeer. It could be a factor of things, but I would say either tires or fuel.
Well, here it is. This is the battle for the lead. It's never really gone away. Conway's brilliant stop got him a half a second extra gap but that has all been erased now. It's back to not. It's back to the way it's been pretty much since turn number 2 in this race. Conway leads over Joe Dauber by less than 1 second. 8 minutes left to go. It's just gone 3:20 p.m. in sim time. We expected light rain throughout the duration of this hour contest. We've got that. The track's very much wet. The temperature's nothing to complain or brag about. No real wind either. So as far as a fight, this is an interesting one. There's no changing conditions. There's no gimmick here. It is car versus car, Ferrari versus Audi. And if these two were to slip up and get into each other, Jordan Daly would be very happy to take back all that time they lost fighting Huell, LaValle, etc. Immo Plate earlier on and sneak one out here. But for right now, it's between these two. And the question remains, can Joe Dauber, driving the Yellow Snow 777, can they get up there and take the fight to Harry Conway and the Baddest Motors Ferrari?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. He's been in between a second and a half and about 6 tenths, so backwards and forwards. Huell is gaining on LaValle with lap times of 46.6 for Huell and a 47.4 for LaValle, so almost a second faster a lap, only 2.5 seconds behind. So you see they're 2 seconds off Daly now for LaValle with the fastest lap. So Merck was quick at the start of the race, but towards the end it looks like something is not giving him the grip he needs, mostly tyres I would say, but very unfortunate. But can he hold on to fourth? We'll just have to wait. 6 minutes and 40 seconds left of this race, and it's not changed the whole race with these fights going on. It's very nice to see. Don't forget Redford and Lopez still fighting with 7 tenths between them in silver class battle for second place.
Interesting comment from chat from Mini Simeon saying that they bet some of these drivers regret not changing tires. It's a fair shake if certain drivers have changed tires and they have benefited greatly from it. You might argue that it's worth it. Of course, some cars we know for sure likely took tires. Neil Pimlott, one of those cars. They were on the pit road for as long as it would take to do that. And I also wonder, could taking tires have worked here? Do you know what will work for you? Some excellent driver coaching. If you want to get better racing in the rain or just racing in general, you can head over to driver61.com and schedule a one-on-one driver coaching session or take part in a full-on racing school. The choice is yours. We certainly can tell you it's worked for several of the admins here. It's made them a more consistent, faster, and better driver. They have the trophies to prove it, and so do the driver coaches over at Driver61. And if you want some of that one-on-one driver coaching, you can use our discount code to get 25% off your session over at Driver61. Thank you very much to those guys. And just remember, you want to get better? Driver61.
Yeah, sure is. It helped a lot of people, as you said. And just looking at Pimlott, just thinking he did a 1:02 pit stop compared to some of the guys doing 34s to 40s. If he had done a good pit stop, he would have saved himself, let's say, 20-25 seconds. He would have either been fighting with Phil Roberts or in front. So that's what tyres does to you. If no one else takes tyres, which they didn't, he is the only car that did. And yeah, he's pretty far back from where he could have been, but it just depends on what he felt with that car. Maybe he thought everyone else was going to change tyres. Maybe he just thought in the pit requirements there was a tyre change and just didn't read it properly, or you know, just glossed over it in because it was raining. Just thought there was going to be a tyre change in there. As you see, he goes a bit deep on that corner there.
I wonder too, a lot of times if all of your competitors are doing the same thing, there's something to be said about intentionally being contrarian, doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing, because you always think that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, but you also think, well, if everybody else has done this one thing and they're boxed into a strategy, what are the benefits of me doing something else? Better tire life, better grip potentially, or, you know, less temperature at the end of the race is also a big possibility, probably what these drivers are fighting right here. Temperature in the tire, of course, is that more beneficial to me? Neil Pimlott was in a spot that they could gamble, and it wouldn't have particularly made a big deal either way. You brought up that they might be fighting with Phil Roberts had they chosen the latter, and of course that is a possibility. Hindsight's 2020, but overall for Pimlott, they made a decision. I don't think it particularly helped or hurt. Maybe they lost out of one spot. Most of the time I'm the person on this broadcast going, oh, a point makes a big difference, and it does. But in this case, I felt like Pimlott was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. He made a choice, learned a lesson. I think everybody, they'll go back and review this tape, and they will have learned a lesson of, okay, this is what tires do on the current patch in the wet. Definitively, we know that doesn't work, or it's not worth it in the long run. Of course, different tracks, they respond differently to tires. There's certain tracks where you absolutely would take tires. Kyalami, you can scratch it off potentially to not take the tires. Neil Pimlott ran a 42.2, or 47.2. It'd have been impressive if you ran a 42.2. You ran a 47.2. The leaders ran a 46.7 and a 47.2 respectively, and they did not take tires. So I think we can definitively say it hasn't helped them on lap time necessarily, but that's just the way it goes. Some days you make the good decision, some days you make the bad decision. And speaking of making a decision, Mike Redford has almost certainly underfueled the race car.
He has. That's the only. Yeah, I was about to say that's the only thing you can. He's lost second place. He might even lose third place to Mustang. Mustang's 20 seconds back. He's still got to stop in his box.
Here he
He's
is.
going to lose third place to Mustang. Mustang's going to get a nice, easy third place. I wonder why he. That is. That's got me there, Jesse. That's got me lost for words. We rarely see someone run out of fuel 2 laps before the finish, because the leaders still got another lap to do. They're just coming through crocodiles now, so that is very, very odd. We haven't seen that for a very long time. I wouldn't say it's the first time in Night Owl we've seen this over the 15 seasons we've done, and the mini series as well, but very, very rare indeed. I was gonna talk about Raphael Hill, how he's now 4.4 seconds behind the Valley. He's made a mistake on a lap because he was only 2 seconds and gaining, so he's not going to be able to fight for 4th place. And yeah, he's not going to get 4th place, and Redford's going to be probably stuck in 4th place now, not going to get that 6 seconds back. So very unfortunate from the 95 driver there.
Mike Redford underfuels the race car. He took a gamble and he has lost. All that progress has now been forfeited. Sail Mustak, on the other hand, for the Nightmare Backmarker Racing Team, has come from qualifying dead last to a potential podium in this race. Absolutely incredible stuff, incredible driving and perseverance from Sail Mustak, and what a race it has been. They've battled, they've kept it clean, they've had a decent enough strategy, and it's looking like it's about to pay off. Speaking of paying off, Harry Conway still leads over Joe Dauber by just about the same amount of time. This almost looks like Ferrari managing the race at the Singapore Grand Prix just a little bit. Harry Conway unable to lengthen the gap, Joe Dauber unable to shorten the gap, and it's looking like the Baddest Motors car might be coming around to win again in Night Owl.
Yeah, sure is. Harry Conway, the legend, Joe Dauber, the rookie, and John Daly, the runner-up. You know, he still wants to win his next Night Owl, but Conway, 1 corner to go, is going to take some more points away from Daly, and Dauber's going to take some more points away from him as well. So it's heated up in this championship of season 15 as Harry Conway takes away 1st place in the pro category, followed by Joe Dauber in 2nd in the Audi. What a nice race from the Audi driver there, as we see Jordan Daly followed by LaValle 2 seconds back. Daly takes the 3rd place, flashing his lights, and there goes LaValle in the Mercedes. Huell in 21, Porsche in the background. The little pink Rex comes across the line for 5th place, and Plate in the Ferrari takes 5th. And where is Roman Frala? He is just coming around the last corner behind the 22 and the 740. Here he is taking home a win in the silver class. What a lovely race he has done today in that M4.
Roman Frawler had challengers, but he never faltered, and he's going to get the win in silver. An excellent job indeed. Phil Roberts comes home P8. Indigo Lopez, who looked like they were under threat, potentially losing a shot at second place, they do come home in second in that class. Neil Pimlott gained a bunch of spots after the tire change, but did not gain enough. They will finish inside the top 10 in 10th place, of course, a little bit higher up in their class. And this man, Sayel Mustak, comes from the back of the grid to podium in the silver class. Well done from them. Mike Redford, frustrated with himself in his race, bends it into the wall in frustration. Lee Kettle will finish the BDG Sim Racing car off into the 13th place position. What a race, what a night, what a day, what an event, and more than anything, just what an event it was. We didn't have the grandiose big incident, did we, Ted? Instead, we had a lot of smaller, most of them self-inflicted incidents here today. But all in all, we had a battle for the overall lead, a battle for a lead in the silver class. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, it's been a very good race, especially with the rain. The settings that I chose today worked out pretty well, and I heard hearing from the drivers that it wasn't too bad. They were preferably for a little bit more rain for the setups, but it was not a bad race indeed, and we were non-stop talking through the whole thing. Couldn't even get a break sometimes, but it was a nice race to see, and just got one more partner to shout out as well, actually. So I get some standings back. We have Harry Conway, Jojo, and Jordan Daly first, second, and third for the Pro Class. Lavalley, he'll take fourth and fifth, and then we've got Roman Frala with that sixth player, that number 6 in first place for silver. Lopez, and yeah, like you say, Mustak taking that third place. Redford under fueling, loses it, takes fourth. So it just goes to show that you can qualify at the back, like you say, just to keep it clean, keep your pace going. And miracles happen, and we saw one happen today, and we see a lot of them in Night Owl, so be sure to stay tuned for some more miracles, hopefully, in the coming future.
Hopefully so.
But yeah, I just want to give a shout out to another partner of our, AK Esports, leader in esports management and competitions around the world. You can go to their website, akesports.it, for more information on their services. And we couldn't do it without them, helping us with the servers for you guys to watch, for the guys to race, and for us just to sit here on a Saturday night and just commentate on people driving around the track and seeing the amazing driving these guys do for a little bit of fun in their spare time. But it was a pretty good race tonight.
Certainly was a good race. Of course, we thank all of you for being with us. We thank the drivers for putting on the show. We'll be back with you on Monday for the continuation of the Porsche Cup Championship. The Friday GT Sprint Challenge continues on Friday. Ted and myself will be back with you next Saturday as well for more Night Owl action, as you might expect. So go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You're not going to want to miss a race that we do. They've been all pretty fantastic recently, and that's not just me blowing smoke. I genuinely mean that. They've all been quite exciting indeed. So, with that in hand, thank you all for being with us. And Ted, as always, thanks for carrying me tonight.
No problem, Jesse. You do a great job of doing the cameras. I'll do most of the talking. And that's how we do Night Owl these days. It is very fun to do it along with you. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Watching a bit of Night Owl has always been some fun.
Well, just looking at chat one final time today, Minnie Simeon reckons Mustak driver of the day. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I echo that sentiment. I am going to give the award for spirit of the race. Probably it's going to be a tie between Kaneko and Moondog for sticking it out. They had their problems. They have afforded many opportunities to quit tonight. They didn't. So for that reason, Moondog and Kaneko, spirit of the race, driver of the race, Sael Mustak, certainly.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, Jesse. Just, getting taken out, having to repair, come back out, then do another pit stop is a hard thing to do, and get the third place out of nowhere, that's just a dream come true. And just like I just said a minute ago, just stick to your pace and just drive the track, and you never know where you end up. But just looking at the calendar of what we've got Night Hour next weekend for round 3, which will be at Bathurst. So we've got a lot of Bathurst going on. We've got Monday Champ on as well. We will be at Monza for round 2 of the Porsche Cup Season 4, followed by on the Wednesday for the Team Champ. That will be at Silverstone. You can either sign up as a single solo driver, or you can sign up as a team of 2. That won't be live streamed, unfortunately, but you can still race in it, still be season sign up, do your pre-queue for the Monday and the Wednesday. Friday is still going as well. For round 3, we'll be at Bathurst as well. We've got a lot of Bathurst going on this time of year, which was not planned. It was just random between us event managers. But that is Friday GT Sprint Season 12. You can do your pre-qualifying at Monza and join us for Bathurst, which will be live streamed on the 29th. And like I said, Night Owl is the day after on the 30th. And don't forget about World Tour. That is 2 weeks from now. And again, that is at Bathurst for 6 hours. Get a team together, get your pre-qualifying done, and you can drive around the mountain. And I do like the mountain, Jesse. You never know what is going to happen, but it is a fun, dangerous track to drive. But it does do some good racing. And like I said earlier, we have iRacing coming back with the Formula 1600 at Virginia. Sign-ups are open on the website. It is a 40-minute race on October 12th, 7 p.m. I think that is GMT. I think the time zones change back. And then we have some other ones coming up. Charlotte 150, which is 150 laps of Charlotte Motor Speedway Oval in the street stocks, followed by we've got Legends Cups around 3-round champ. We have iRacing's Road Season 2 with a 4-round champ of MX5 and GT4s, and MX5s at Daytona, 40-minute race one-off as well. The series will be on a Thursday and the one-offs will be on Saturdays. Have a look on our website at racerci.com, and you can find a link to our Discord in the description below and on the website, along with all our racing rules and stewarding rules, along with custom livery rules as well. So be sure to check those championships out and our website and Discord.
A lot going on in the fall here at RCI. You're not going to want to miss any of it here on the channels. And of course, get involved, run some races with us. iRacing, the big news coming out of today, that we will be doing a lot of iRacing this fall. We would love to have you with us. And of course, be mindful, you can sign up for any championship mid-season by going to the website, racerci.com. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to bring tonight's race with you. We'll see you again back on Monday. Ted Edwards, take us out.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell button to get notifications, and we will see you on Monday for Monday Cup, Porsche Cup.